What's up, D fam? Danny G here. So, before we start the show, I wanted to let y'all know that we had a few technical difficulties during the recording, in which video dropped off and didn't come back on about halfway through the show. Nonetheless, David was super dope, and I promise you do not want to miss this episode. So, with that being said, let's start the show. Alan, hit the intro music.
It's the weekly D, come along for the ride. Welcome to the weekly D, we going all in. H-Town legends, yeah, we do it for the win. Talking big facts, got jokes on deck. A podcast so fire, man, show some respect. Plus, dropping in, telling stories so bold. Comedians, hustlers, legends and pros. We keep it light, keep it tight, but we wildin' too. If you ain't laughing, something wrong with
What's up, D fam? Welcome back to the greatest Houston based podcast in the world, the Weekly D Podcast. I'm your host, Danny G, and today we got a certified legend in the building, a culture commander, a Brown Excellence ambassador, the man behind one of the most unapologetic Latin media movements in Texas, the mind, the voice, and the boss man behind them damn Mexicans. Please allow me to introduce our special guest, Mr. David.
Thank you guys. Thank you. Thank you, Bryce, for having me. Appreciate y'all.
Appreciate you, man. I know you're a really busy person, and so I appreciate you taking time out your day to be on our show.
Hey, it's all good, man. Pleasure is all on this side, man. Honor.
Man, likewise. So let's get right into it, David. You run Them Damn Mexicans, which is now more than just a podcast, more than just a t-shirt or a hat.
Yeah.
It's music, it's art, it's everything. You're damn near in everything now.
Yeah, we got our hand in a little bit of everything. We do the events, we got the merchandise, we got the podcast, we got the digital distribution thing. Uh yeah, it's a lot more. It's a lot of other little things that we do as well
hmm
that, but it's all under the umbrella of, them that Mexicans.
Of TDM, yes, sir. So I want to take the opportunity to get to know you a little bit better today.
Sure.
We've met a few times here and there. We've hung out at Honeysuckle a couple times.
Yeah, shout out to Carlos, man, the mood room.
Yeah, huge shout out to them because they're also doing a great job at cultivating Latin art and just comedians and giving everyone an opportunity to show their stuff. But I wanted to know, like, did you grow up here in Houston or did you grow up
Yep.
elsewhere?
Nope. Northside Houston, Texas. North Central to be exact. Um,
Yeah, nice. And how was it like growing up in Northside?
I loved it. I love Northside. I have it tattooed on me. Everything that I went through and grew up in
hmm
that environment kind of, you know, molded me into the person I was. I mean, do I want my kids to go through that? No. When you know better, you do better.
Well, that's for sure.
But I definitely loved the North Side, man. Like I said, I grew up, went to school there, went to church, worked in the North Side. I mean, lived in
Mhm.
the North Side, so it's in me. It's embedded in me. I love it.
Man, that's beautiful, and I've noticed you're very like well interconnected with the North Side and with the I
Hmm.
mean the Houston community in general. Did any of those instances where you were growing up, did you ever think like one day I'm gonna have TDM and do the things you're doing now?
No, it wasn't until we actually started it that I saw the bigger picture, right? The grand scheme of things, what I wanted to do. Everything that I'm doing now, I talked about this 15 years ago about doing this,
hmm
and it's just like, it took all these years and all these experiences to finally get there. But definitely growing up, no, I had no. Sometimes it was like one of them where like, man, I don't even know if I'm gonna make it out, alive
Yeah.
or I didn't know what I was gonna do because the North Side at the time, growing up in the mid '90s,
hmm
the whole gang violence thing was crazy out there. Like, I got a lot of friends that passed that are gone, whether to jail or passed on. So I didn't know where I was going to end up. So definitely future was not one of them. Like, I'm not thinking about it. I'm just trying to make it out,
Yeah,
basically.
yeah. No, I feel that. I mean, I don't know if I've ever told you this. I was born in California. I lived my early childhood there, so we grew up in like East LA.
Oh, okay,
We
okay.
moved around to like Orange County because my dad had the same idea. He's like, I lived through this. I don't want my kids living through this. So
Yeah.
he was always trying to work to get us out of there. And then
Hmm.
eventually we moved to Texas right when I was starting high school.
Okay.
So like we moved to the Sugarland kind of Richmond side, kind of far
Yeah.
from the north, the north
Hmm.
side. But I completely understand that because like I had very similar environments growing up. Had tons of cousins that were all gang affiliated, still to this day.
Yeah.
And it's just it's a crazy way to come up because you see things you're not supposed to see as a kid,
Yeah, for sure.
as a teenager, and I'm sure. I mean, in the '90s, it must have been rough up on the north side.
Yeah, because we in the 90s, a lot of the gang culture came from that LA
Hmm.
environment. It came from that West Coast influence. We saw the movies, the Boys in the Hood,
Hmm.
Colors, Menace in Society. So, and plus the music in itself. So, I mean, we took a lot of what, well, I don't say we, but a lot of the homies that I grew up with. I remember playing baseball with these guys, and then next thing you know, they're enemies now. You know what I'm saying? So it was kind of crazy seeing that.
Yeah, that is definitely crazy. I told a story to Alan one time on this podcast where I had cousins that were in rival gangs, and one day
Wow.
one of my cousins was getting married, and at his wedding, his own blood, his cousin from that lived 2 blocks away, stabbed the dude in the middle of his wedding, like at the reception. He just chinked him, and we are like, "Oh, what the fuck?"
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah,
Damn. Yeah, you got me there, brother. You got me there. There are two cousins though. That's crazy.
yeah, man. Gang culture is just it blows my mind how it works. I've never
Yeah.
understood it. The more I try to wrap my head around it, I don't understand how you can be 2 blocks down and still be rivals.
Yeah, I mean, just in our the little neighborhood that we call North Central, it was so many gangs that were at odds with each other, and it's like, bro, we were just playing baseball last year together and hanging out, and now you're trying to kill each other. It's crazy.
Yeah, yeah, that's definitely crazy. Were you always a hustler growing up? Like, were you always chasing the bag? Because I see you, and I see one of the hardest working people I've ever met. Like I told you right before we recorded, it blows my
Yeah.
mind how you're always on the grind.
That's something that I got from my pops. My dad, RP to my dad, he passed away about 12, almost 12 years ago. And he was one of those that like was provider for the family, didn't want moms to work. He'd take two jobs. He's always, busting his ass basically to provide for myself and my five sisters, and of course my mother. So pretty
Hmm.
big family. And so seeing him work hard, and there's the difference though. You work hard, but he worked hard manually.
Yeah.
What I'm doing is a little bit different. It's not so much manual or physical, but it is a lot of work though still.
Well, you're working a little bit smarter.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Using
pretty
your
much.
brain and your intellect to chase
Exactly.
the American dream that I'm sure that's what your dad was chasing too at the time.
Yeah, man. I remember before he passed, him wanting to start, his own business, and I didn't understand it, like because I never thought that we could even own our own business, be entrepreneurs like that. And then it wasn't until years later, after reading books and looking up people who like the Suge Knights, the Damon
Hmm.
Dashes, Jay Prince from here in Houston, these guys having their own companies and whatnot. And I love the music so much that I studied it. So like I would kind of study. Master P was another one that I looked up to. So yeah,
Yeah.
man, and then you start to think like, oh, you can, this is possible.
Well, when was the first time you realized like this is something you could possibly do? Like, or what was that? When did that thought
Damn.
click?
So one of the early times that I was doing music or into the music, I'm gonna say that because I've never been an artist. I was managing a Christian hip hop group.
Okay.
And I remember us pressing up CDs. Well, I was pressing up CDs. I'd take them to the studio,
Hmm.
press up CDs, and then I would actually book them shows like at youth events at different churches. And we would sell CDs like crazy. Like the people loved what the boys were doing, the boys that were actually rapping.
Hmm.
So I was like, damn, like this really, but that was again the whole Master P selling CDs out the trunk, hand to
Yeah.
hand, that type of thing. So when I saw that, it was kind of like, okay, this is something that maybe, we can definitely do. And of course, things didn't work out with that, but I took what I learned there and flipped it into, and of course now it's different because you don't have physical copies anymore. Now it's the digital world. So now it's
Yeah.
time to adjust.
Yeah, that's the crazy part, man. I miss those days where you go to Walmart and people would be like, "Hey, want to listen to my CD? Buy it." Um,
Bro, I worked at a record store, so like getting advanced copies or just even going to buy a CD and opening that plastic. And one of the first things I would do is open the insert and read the who produced what,
Hmm.
who's on the album. Like I love those little things like that.
Bro, that's badass. That's honestly, I feel like I'm kind of in the same thought process as you because I've always loved music, but I have never had the talent to even think about making it right. But I you know, it's funny because I grew up in California, like I said, and my thing was East Coast hip hop. Like
Okay.
I was obsessed with East Coast hip hop growing up, especially the '90s.
Yeah.
You know, but even before that, like I was into Grandmaster Flash. Like everyone would look funny at me at school because I'd be jamming, Grandmaster Flash, Big Herc, and everyone was like, "What the fuck are you listening to?" I was like, I love the way it sounds. I love how they were able to catch the break beats and mix it all up and turn it into a new sound.
Yeah. No, I agree 100% because some of my early influences was like DJ Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince,
Yeah,
MC Light, Tribe Called Quest. I remember Biz Markie,
hmm,
so many. And then, of course, to the West Coast and then so on and so forth. But the East Coast was definitely, I mean, that's where it started.
yeah, yeah. Do you feel like Houston gets the proper credentials when it comes to hip hop? Because I feel like it gets slept on a lot.
I think we get slept on. I think Houston gets slept on a lot, mainly because I think we don't care enough. Like, if you talk to almost anybody from Houston, like as far as like artists and people like that, they're like, man, we don't care. Like, we made money, we made our money, we still living good. We're still selling out, like, because they always say you can go platinum in Texas, you can go gold or platinum just in Texas alone. So
Hmm.
I think they're cool with not being, but hey, I remember Pimp C, they had UGK, they had the song, quit hating the South, because that's what it was
Yeah.
at one point. They was hating the South and but they were copying a lot of what we were doing. So, I do feel, I don't
Yeah,
feel
for
that we eat
sure.
our props, but it is what it is.
Um, do you like it when artists actually give Houston props though? Like when Lil Wayne would always shout out Houston, and I mean, he some of his sounds, his early sounds were very heavily influenced by Houston, and then you had the Drakes, and all the other guys coming through.
Yeah, no, no doubt, no doubt, man. It's always good to receive that acknowledgement when people are just can remember you and are willing to give you that props, But I would say it's not something to try to like look for because when you don't get it, then you feel a certain way. You know what I'm saying? So then it's like, okay, well, hey, I remember Dame Dash was on the
Yeah,
Breakfast Club and Charlemagne asked him like, "Yo, do you feel like you get your props?" He's like, "I don't care." He's like, "I don't care." He's like, when
he's
people
got his
see me,
money.
they give, yeah, he's like, I don't care. Like, I don't care about that, So,
Yeah, yeah. Oh, that's what's up. So let's get into a little bit of TDM. Like, where did that start? How did that idea come in together?
so the story was this was about 15 years ago. I met an artist I saw him online on MySpace, actually, of all places. Back then, artists could have their own profile. His name was Big Jerb, RP to Big Jerb. He's been gone about 10 years, I want to say. I think it's 10 years now. But I saw him and I was like, whoa, we went to the same school. He was just younger than I was. My sister knew him. So I was like, yo, he was pretty dope. I was like, I don't know what made me say I wanted to manage him, but I reached out and was like, yo, let me manage you, and I was like, I have no experience doing that, but I was confident that I could help out some kind of way. And he said he
Hmm.
was with it, so we met, chopped it up. I told him jokingly, I was like, I gotta find a name for my management company. He's like, all
Hmm.
right, cool. And one day while I was sitting in my apartment, I heard a white woman's voice saying, "Them damn Mexicans," like almost like scolding me, like calling me like them damn Mexicans. And I was like, yo, I like that. And I called him up and was like, yo, I think I found my name. And I said, them damn, and he laughed and he created the logo which you see here, the original logo. He created that
Dope.
logo 10 years ago and it's stuck ever since. I have a new one, but everybody loves this one,
Hmm.
so
Yeah, I dig
yeah.
that one. I need to order me a shirt. I was gonna ask you the other day how to
I have
order a
some
shirt.
Saturday.
Okay, okay, yeah, I'll definitely cop one. Yeah, I was gonna ask you, and then I realized you had it on as another page on Instagram, like TDM merchandise. I was like, damn, I felt stupid as fuck, dude. I'm not gonna lie.
Nah, you're good. You're good. A lot of people don't even know. We didn't have merch for a good little while. because of, financially it was tough. It was like I had to make a decision of like the pot, financing the podcast or financing the merchandise. I couldn't do both at the time. And then the podcast was like, well, I think that'll be, I put that as the priority number one because I felt that I would get that return once I got monetized on YouTube and so on and so forth. The
Hmm.
merch was always going to sell, is always going to be there. So I was like, okay, so I made the right decision.
I like that you say that because that's kind of where we're at right now. We're focusing solely on funding the podcast, make sure the podcast gets to where it needs to be before we
Yeah.
start using merch and stuff. Like I print out stickers and stuff. This shirt I have on, I made it myself, with the Cricut and just a heat press. But
Oh yeah,
eventually,
yeah.
that's where I want to get. Yeah, oh, that's pretty dope.
Well, when we started, it was the shirts first before it was the podcast. Before anything else, we were a management team, but we didn't have anything tangible.
Hmm.
So it was like, okay, I'm gonna do the shirts, and then we did the shirts, and then those shirts sold out. I mean, I think I printed a dozen, and they were gone within a week. Between from Cali to Florida, I didn't even know I had people following me from them states, but I remember having to ship to even overseas. There was
Hmm.
a gentleman by the name of Saul Medrano. He was in like Afghanistan somewhere, Kuwait.
Dang.
And there's a picture on our page where he's holding up the shirt and he's in front of a tank out there in the Middle East. And I was like, yo, that's crazy. Like that
Oh,
was
that's
that was
dope. I'm
sick.
gonna find that picture. That way we add it to this episode. That's
Okay.
badass, man. Yeah. So you started off as a management company, and you said it didn't fan out at the beginning, or
Yeah, well we were managing I was managing Big Jerb at first and then we had a little fallout, and then I started a group with three guys and then little by little like one quit and then we replaced him and then another one quit and then it just disbanded after about a year or so maybe.
hmm.
And then I did nothing with it. Like I ended up starting a sports organization that got
Okay.
pretty big. We did softball, we did all kinds of sports, really, adults and youth. And that went on about, I mean, it's still, for many, many years until about 5 years ago, where I decided to, quit my job and chase my TDM dream. I was actually going to start not a taco truck, a food truck. And then I was
Okay.
like, no, that would mean I'd be stuck in that truck all day. So
Yeah.
yeah. And so then I said, man, let me try to see what I can do with this TDM thing. And it's been 5 years of constant work.
Yeah. I bet, man. And how did your like family and friends react to TVM? Like when you first told them this is my brand.
Family wise, like, so I want to give a shout out to my wife. My wife was very supportive, or still supportive of the brand and everything that I do. All the pretty packaging of the shirts that you see, that's her. That's her behind that. And I run all the ideas by her and see what she thinks, and she supports me 100%. So my mom, she loves it. One of the things that I do wish is that I wish my dad was here so that he was able to see what it's transitioned to and where it's gone, because I'm pretty sure he would have been like, podcast, vete a trabajar, or ponte a trabajar en vez de, whatever. But I don't know, like times change with technology and things like that. You can make
Yeah.
money on the internet as opposed to just, going to work physically every day and doing something you don't like.
Yeah.
So yeah, but I mean, all my family's been pretty supportive. My sisters, they'll come to the events. So yeah, it's been nothing but love and support, man.
Dude, that's awesome. Now, my parents were the same way when I started this podcast. What was it, 6 years ago? 5 or 6 years
Hmm.
ago. I was a diesel mechanic at the time. My dad was
Okay.
like, "Why are you wasting your time doing this?" Like, my dad's his entire life has worked,
Yeah.
manual labor. Smart ass dude. He could have been an engineer, but he came to America and just worked a dead end job, really. But he was the same way. He was like, "Oh, you're wasting your time. Don't do this. Don't
Hmm.
do that." And for a good while, I think this is the first year we've actually turned a little bit of a profit. Uh, my dad was just negative about it, and then I showed him the first
Yeah.
check, and he's like, "Okay, you're doing something
Hmm.
now."
Hmm. I mean, but that's how it is though. Like anytime you start a business or anything like that, they don't, in the beginning, a lot of people are not going to see. There's a lot of
Hmm.
people that follow me now on Instagram that want to work with me that in the beginning, when I tried to reach out, it fell on deaf ears. And then they
Hmm.
see a couple years later the progression, the constant elevation, and now it's them reaching out, them wanting to, and it's just
Yeah,
like that. It's the nature of the business.
for sure, for sure. So, with that being said, have you had any like trials and tribulations, especially because your brand is them damn Mexicans? So, I'm sure a lot of people that aren't comfortable with the Hispanic culture, they're like, "Oh no," they kind of shy away from you.
Honestly, we've been embraced, man, by black and the white people. There,
Hmm.
a lot of my black friends that wear the shirt, they've bought shirts for me, and they'll wear it, and they'll be like, "Yo, I always get the craziest looks when I wear it." From other Mexican people, like, "Well, what you doing wearing that?" They're like, "Oh, it's my homeboy stuff," and they're like, "Oh yeah," but our people are pretty. We're pretty cool. We're pretty laid back, and that's
Yeah.
being in Texas and Houston specifically, black and brown get along, pretty well. The other day, the funny story, this just happened on Monday. I was on my way to go hang out with GT Garza and Bruce Bang. They were finishing up a project that they're working on, and I was invited to just come check it out or whatever. So I stopped at a
Hmm.
store right close by. It was a white dude working, and he was talking to another white man, and they're older white man. And I had my shirt, not this one, but with the big logo on the front. And I
Hmm.
walk in, and you could immediately feel the tension. You immediately felt like the uneasiness of the whole thing. Like, it was like, very awkward. I walked
Uh-huh.
in. I was trying not to laugh because I literally could feel they saw the shirt, and then if you've ever seen the back of our shirt, it says, "We will not apologize for embracing our culture."
Yeah.
And so, like, people, and I could tell that it bothered them, but nothing was said. Thank God,
Yeah.
so I
Yeah.
was like, yeah, let me keep it moving. Let me get what I got and then keep it moving. But yeah,
Yeah.
it was funny nonetheless, though.
Yeah.
But
No, that's what's up.
that's probably the first time that I think something negative, because I've been at the airport, I've been at places that people read the back of the shirt, and
Mhm.
they'll tap me on the shoulder, "Hey, I like what that says," and they give me props, whether they mean it or not, I don't know, but they give me the props. So
Yeah. No, and that's why I asked because like that shirt specifically is so bold, and it's
yeah,
so out there, which I completely love. Like I think the first time I saw the back of it was actually the first time we met at Honeysuckle at the Mood Room, and I saw
okay,
the shirt and I was like, "Damn, that's fucking dope!" Like I really like the messaging behind it.
yeah,
Um, and that's why I was curious because coming from California to Texas, it was a complete culture shock, especially where we moved. Like it was still predominantly white, and
yeah,
like it was the first place I ever experienced being stereotyped, like truly stereotyped. So I always like to ask that to people, especially like I said, your brand is so bold. You know,
yeah. No, I mean, it's one of them. It's bold, and we definitely represent, but it's not disrespectful. So I think people respect that like, we're proud of who we are and who we come from, and where we come from, especially our parents and so on and so forth, that they really have no choice but to kind of respect it. So it's been all love so
yeah,
far. So far, I say so far, because you never know what can happen.
yeah, no, that's for sure. That's awesome though. Like, so what does embrace your culture mean to you? Because I see that's y'all's slogan. That's it's almost like your mission statement.
Yeah, and that's also the name of our annual event that we started.
Hmm.
So when my boy Rob sent me, I think it was like a picture or meme that said "Embrace the Culture" on it. I
Hmm.
looked at it and immediately said, "Yo, that's dope." I was like, I need to incorporate that somehow. So when we say "embrace the culture," we always say "embrace your culture," because everybody's culture is different. I can't, I'm not gonna be someone else's culture. I'm not trying to be a part of someone else's culture. I can only embrace my own culture. So that's what we tell people, like, you don't have to go outside of your culture to embrace something else that maybe not be your culture. And people don't
Yeah.
understand that because, of course, everybody's culture is different. But we
Hmm.
want people to be proud and represent their culture and, again, embrace it.
Yeah. No, I love that, man. Because even as Hispanics, right, there's so many different cultures within the Hispanic realm.
Yeah.
Everyone comes from a different place. So many South American countries. So I absolutely love that.
Nah, facts, man, facts. But in Houston, other races, that everybody's Mexican. I don't care if you're Salvadorian, Puerto Rican. They say everybody's Mexican
Yeah.
out here.
Yeah, that's for sure. My wife's Bolivian, fun little
Okay,
fact,
okay.
and she always tells me, she's like, I hate when people tell me I'm Mexican. I was like, it's just, people don't know. They don't really put the effort to learn either. But
Hmm.
I love that you're very proud of your culture. I likewise grew up very proud to be a Mexican American, and I embrace that to the fullest. I do sometimes hate though, like when I go to Mexico, they're like, "Oh, you're American, you're not Mexican." And
Bro,
then you come here.
That Selena movie where he says the famous, you're not Mexican enough for them and we're not American, to
Hmm.
us, yeah, it's the truest shit ever, bro.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And the crazy thing is, like, I have a double citizenship. I've lived in Mexico before, but to this day, like, my cousins were like, "Oh, you're American. You're too good for us."
Yeah, 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 yeah. Nah, trust me, I already know. You go to Mexico, you're gonna hear about it. So
Yeah, yeah, that's for sure. TDM is you're a managing company still, right? You still manage
no,
artists.
we don't manage artists anymore. So this is something that I started saying maybe about 2 or 3 years ago that I was calling them that Mexicans a multimedia agency a couple years ago, even before we had just started, pardon me, we had just started the podcast, but I saw where we were going with it. Well, at least I always say I got like the playbook or the
Hmm.
blueprint, and I could see, I guess like a visionary you would call it. Like I see things further than what they are. So like
Hmm.
everything, like I said earlier, everything that we're doing now, I was saying we were gonna do back then, and I've seen
Okay.
interviews of other people's podcasts where I specifically say, yeah, we're a multimedia agency. We ain't there yet, but eventually we'll get there. And again, now it's turned into, of course, content. We got the content, we got the podcast, and now the distribution company that where we distribute artists' music for them, and we work out
Okay.
a deal with artists or local artists and try to help put them on and just help each other win. That's really the thing. The key thing for us is to reach a win-win situation.
Gotcha. And do you think that mentality has shifted? Because I feel like before, as Hispanics, like Hispanics didn't want other Hispanics to do better than them. And then, like, I think as your generation and my generation have come in, we've kind of shifted that more to like, let's get everyone to win. Let's feed the whole table.
No, you're exactly right. It's still predominantly like that though. There's a lot of people out here that they act like they want to see you win. They want to work with you, but only when you reach. It's like when you record labels and artists, right? They don't want to work
Hmm.
with nobody that just started. They want to work. They want to see the numbers you've done already. They want you to already have a hit record and this. They want all that just so they can ride that wave. A lot of that is still the same. There's very few people who are like myself and like you and Carlos from the Mood Room and a few others who want to win-win. They want to see that like, hey man, I want to help support what you're doing. But now on the flip side, well, I want to help support you. That's why we were doing the live audience podcast out of the Mood Room
Hmm.
to bring business, to him, to
Yeah.
them at the Mood Room and bring awareness to what they were doing out there because it's a dope spot, and they're good people.
Yeah, they're great people, man. I love Carlos. Ever
Yeah,
since the first time I met him, he was one of the coolest guys I had met, like on first time. That's why
yeah.
when you first had that chat, I was like, who should we interview? I was like, you got to interview Carlos. This dude's dope. He has great movement, great ideas with his bar and what he's trying to do, and as well, he's embracing the culture, his culture, and embracing the
Yeah.
Houston culture as well. He's embracing the comedy scene,
Yeah,
DJs.
yeah.
He's doing all sorts of stuff, man.
And I appreciate you for that, man. I haven't had a chance to actually tell you in person, but I appreciate you making that connection because he and I always talk about that, because I really at one point I didn't even remember how I was like, how did I know somebody had tagged, I was like, I knew somebody had tagged them. Then he told me it was you, and I was like, you know what, you're right. Because that post generated a lot of inquiries, like a lot of people were tagging people not so I didn't really remember specifically who
Hmm.
tagged who, but he was like, "Yeah, it was my boy," and I was like, "You know what? You show right." I said, "Man, I'm glad he did because then look what happened from that. Then we developed a relationship, with the
Yeah.
mood room and whatnot. So yeah, it's just that's how that's it's a blessing, man. So again, thank you, man. Thank you.
Oh, dude, it's my pleasure. Like I said, I knew you guys had a great platform, and I was like, this guy's starting off. I love the ideas he has. I had seen the mood room before he opened it, and I was like, man, I gotta link him up. I
Yeah.
gotta do something to help him out because just like you, I want to see my friends win. I want to see the people I meet win. You know that, and my whole thought process behind it is if they're winning, we're all going to be winning, and we're just going to grow a huge network with a ton of people that are there
Yes.
to collaborate, to link up and help each other out. So I appreciate you for actually looking at it and linking up with them as well.
Yeah, because I could have easily just been like, yeah,
Just
whatever, I'm
swipe
not, I
past,
won't.
yeah.
And not only that though, there was a couple of people that were tagged in it that I reached out to. I pretty much reached out to everybody that was tagged in that, and not everybody
Hmm.
was receptive. Well, at least I always try to put the ball in their court. Like, okay, you let me know when
Hmm.
it's best for you, and then when I don't hear back, then I'm like, I just move on. Like, I don't really go chase anybody. With him, we did the back and forth, and then we're like, and then it was close to the holidays, so it was kind of like, well, let's wait till after the new year, and then
Hmm.
and it just, I mean, we've done a live audience podcast pretty much every month this year there. So, and again,
Yeah.
shout out to him and Gus and everybody at the Mood Room and you.
And like I said, I appreciate it. And it was my pleasure to link that up because, again, it helps everyone win, it makes great connections. And talking about great connections, your Embrace the Culture event that you do every year, how did that come to be? Because, like, I went to the one last year.
Okay.
Yeah, right before the holidays, I think. And that was
Yeah.
actually the first time I like ran into you and met you, but it was really brief because you were busy. And it was actually Illinois from Latinx. He told me, he's like, come out to this thing, meet David, introduce yourself, and come hang out with us.
Yeah, so
But
that
yeah,
came up, and
so how did that start?
so Embrace the Culture started because I went to an event. There's an artist by the name of Houston's own MC. I've known him for pretty much quite a while because his younger brother played baseball with my oldest son. So then somehow I got introduced to these guys, him and a guy named Johnny Dangerous and Danny Strange. They had a podcast called Rumpelstiltskin, and so they invited me to I want to say it was like a toy drive. Yeah, it was a toy drive, and it was right there in the north side. And I saw what they were doing. They had the vendors set up, they had artists performing. And I was like, man, this would be dope if I could put something together like this because I knew so many artists. And that's where I kind of got not kind of, that's where I got the idea. I didn't have a name for it yet, though. I didn't know what I was going to call it. I went to Hot Box Hemp Goods right there on Quitman, and I asked if I could do the event there, and they were just like, sure. And that was kind of crazy because I had never really met them before either. I met them at an event one time, but they didn't really know me. So I appreciate them giving me the opportunity to do it. And then that's when I said my boy Rob had sent me something online that said embrace the culture on it. And I was like, damn, I think that's what I'm going to call the event, embrace the culture. And then it just, we had embraced the culture, the first one. Then the second embrace the culture we did in Huffman, Texas. We called that the block party because it was literally at my friend Martha's house. She had a huge front yard, and we had
That's crazy.
20 something vendors out there. We had a trailer, and the artists performed. It was crazy. And then we did three at the Splat Zone. It's a paintball
Hmm.
thing over there, like on 290, I want to say, close to 290.
Hmm.
And then we did 4 and 5 were at Spindle Tap Brewery. And then you came to the one last year. That was five. That was the fifth 5 year anniversary. And then this year will be the sixth one. That's September 13th at Spindle
Dope.
Tap
Yeah.
Brewery. Yeah.
You know what was cool about that is Spindle Tap is where Carlos was getting his stuff made. And when I found that out, and then I found out you were doing Embrace the Culture, I was like, oh, I got to go up there too and get me a couple cans as well.
Bro, he told me, he's like, oh, Spindle Tap does my drink, the honeysuckle. And I was like, yo, that's wild because I got, we had a great relationship at Spindle Tap. We've done the last two Embrace the Cultures and the last two toy drives there. And then this year will be the third annual time. I love Spindle Tap. I love the whole setup, the outside, like how they let us just maneuver and just do it however we want to do it. I love it there. So,
Yeah, no, they have a great layout as well. It's a beautiful place. I've been a big fan of Spindle Tap for a lot of years. I actually used to go up there all the time.
oh, okay, okay.
I would go up, yeah, we would go brewery hopping up there, go to Spindle Tap. At the time, there
Man,
was beef.
yeah. I don't know if you know this producer's name. He goes by Bad Child. He's the one that set me up with that spot because I went to a listening party for AB Raps, an artist out of here in Houston,
Okay.
and he showed me the spot, and he was all like, "Man, what do you think about doing an event here?" And I was like, "Yeah, I don't know if I can afford it." And he's like, "No, no, I got you." Like, and it was like, "Okay, we'll set up a meeting," And then I pitched the idea to Spindle Tap. They loved it. They love having us. Well, from what they tell us, they love having us. So we love being there. It's a win-win situation.
So at this moment, we had some technical difficulties with our connection. Sorry, guys, but in the meantime, let's talk about Tabs sex chocolates.
While we work through technical difficulties, let's talk about tabs. Okay, listen. Just because I can't roll my R's doesn't mean I can't roll in the sheets, okay? Tabs chocolates are that girl sweet smooth, and they don't play when it's time to show out. All natural, fast acting, and they taste way better than your ex's excuses. Whether it's date night, sneaky link night, or I'm bored and I love myself night. Tabs gives you the energy to turn let's chill into who taught you that. No side effects. No weird stuff. Just straight up confidence. And maybe a little bit of chaos. Use code LOVE231690 at tabs.co for 20% off. That's LOV at WO31690 because bad chickas deserve discounts too. Tabs chocolates. Don't just get lucky. Be unforgettable.
All right, so we had a few technical difficulties, but we are back. So let's just get into how you met Latinx, Illinois. You guys do a lot of playlists and collaborations. How did that come to be?
Yeah, man. I want to say that he followed me like early on because I think when I remember seeing his page, he was like at 200 something followers, and he didn't pass me now. But I remember him doing the collage thing with he put all the rappers like on a flyer or sort of like almost like an album cover. It was just his way of kind of connecting dots and whatnot. And then I remember him doing the playlist or wanting to start the playlist, and I asked if I could be a part of that. And he was like, "Yeah, let's
Okay.
do it. Let's collab." And it's been 3 years since, and we've never missed. So now it's funny because the playlist started with just Houston. And then it not
Hmm.
only new Houston, it was really like we were putting like a lot of old shit in there. And then we started kind of finding more talent in the H, a lot of the underground, and we started putting that on there. Now we do two playlists. We do one in English, we do one in Spanish, and we have artists literally from coast to coast, from Cali to New York and everywhere in between. We've even had artists from Canada on our playlist. We have some
Whoa.
people that are from Guatemala that live in Canada, and we're connected with them. And I connected with them through the podcast. They were watching the podcast. Somehow they were watching the podcast when we used to do it live in the beginning, and we've been cool ever
Hmm.
since, and so we gotta, and it's ironic that our second largest demographic is Canada. So, so aside from the
That's
States, just
crazy.
Canada's our next big market. Yeah. So shout out to everybody in
That
Canada, my
is,
girl Maggie, Jack, and Dwendy, and everybody from Montreal to Canada, man. It's crazy. Yeah.
bro, that's awesome. Is there one like specific demographic that you reach that you never expected to reach?
Yeah, Canada for sure, because I didn't even think there was, I don't want to say Mexicans because the majority of them are from Guatemala, but that there was Latinos in just period out there. Because you think Canada, you think white, French, and these people that I know, it
Mm,
makes me laugh because they know English, Spanish, and French. Pardon me. And so it trips
that's
me out that
wild.
they
Oh,
know
you're
all
good.
those languages, and they look just like us, So it's pretty cool, and they're good people. A couple of them came down about a year or two ago. They came down to Houston after I did a podcast with them. That we Everybody in the
Mhm.
chat hyped up Houston so much. They're like, we need to go visit, and they came out and got to see Mexican OT. They got to go to an Astros game. I took them to a pop up. I took them to the hood. I took them to Taconazo to get some tacos. Yeah, so this
Ooh,
is cool.
hell yeah. Bro, that's dope. Being a podcaster as well as every other thing you do, has there been like a guest you've had that you were like, "Whoa, I can't believe I got this guy," or someone you're just really excited to get on your podcast?
Man, let me see. I'm trying to think. I don't know. I kind of was hype about I kind of get hyped with like everybody, man, just because either I know them or because I don't know them because I feel like everybody has a story to tell, their own unique story that I have that regard. And we started off where we were just no, I'm lying. We were like business owners, and people like that. Like we've had Easy Wireless, HTX Tactical, and of course a lot of the underground artists. But I think one of the first times that did happen was probably with GT Garza when we were able to interview, sit down with him, and we did it at his house. We invited us to his house, and I was able to sit down and talk to him. And I had been kind of asking him for an interview, and finally got it. We almost got Mexican OT, but that was right before he, skyrocketed into superstardom. So we weren't able to kind of like, it was just too busy for us. It just never happened. So I'm trying to think, was there anybody else? Anna Mays was probably another one, artist out of DC. Powda, of course. See, now the names are starting to like, like, Powda
Yeah.
was definitely one because she's, being a legend herself, in the Latino Mexican rap game from the Salty Water record to the Dope House record days. It was
Hmm.
definitely an honor to sit down and talk to her. But yeah.
Palace is dope too. I got to briefly meet her at the live podcast you did. Super cool people. Like
Okay.
I didn't really know who she was until I saw her pop up on your page a couple times, and Latinx. Uh, I I think they featured one of her songs in one of the playlists. So I listened to her and I was like, oh, this chick is dope. I never
Yeah.
realized like how much of a legend she truly was until the
Yeah.
day I got to briefly meet her, and
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
dope
She was, yeah, that early 2000 era, man. She was, literally the hits, the voice behind the hits for Salty Water Records, One in a Million, Make It Hot, so many countless records that she's had that she was a part of. So it's good to be friends with someone like that, man. Good people.
for sure. And do you think podcasting has like allowed you to have friendships you never expected to have?
Yes, most definitely, because I'll admit that sometimes I'll use the podcast as like a favor for a favor type thing. Like, hey, if you do this for me, I'll put you or whoever you want on the podcast. And I felt we've built enough stock and equity into our podcast that it has some sort of value to it. Like, so they'll be like, "Oh, you know what? That's a good
Mm-hmm.
idea. Okay, I'll do this for you." And then you put them on your platform, so they like what we do enough to where they were willing to, whatever the deal. It's just business bartering, type of thing. But yeah, it definitely has put me in places that I never thought I would be in because I can come in as media, to an event
Mm-hmm.
as opposed to just being a fan or whoever. I actually could show up and say, "Oh, I'm here as media. I got my camera, I got my phone and my tripod, and I'm ready to go." Yeah, most definitely.
That's dope. With that being said, as TDM, do you feel like you guys ever get kind of typecasted or kind of forced to put on Hispanics more than anything, or is it something that you're trying to break out of?
So we've had that before. Where like so after Big Jerb, God bless, and then we had the group. And then all the years that went by. So one of the first artists I managed when I came back was an African American artist by the name of Bernie Merck. So I did catch a lot of flack, And when I say flack, I didn't catch it personally, right? This was like all online. Is the
Hmm.
keyboard warriors, right? They would get on the comments and how you them damn Mexicans and you managing a black guy, and this and this and that. You know what I mean? So I think they felt like you should only. I'm like, look, we put on for all our people. It just so happens that I was managing this guy at the time, and it seemed
Hmm.
like it was like like favoritism towards him. But I was like, well, I mean, he's my artist. I gotta show. But I mean, we show everybody love. So yeah, it's you got your people like that try to put you in that box, like, oh, you're supposed to only work with Mexicans, and I'm like, nah, fuck, my black people, man, white people, whatever. Like I said, people, all shapes and colors, wear a race and color, wear our shirts, represent. So it's just all love.
Hmm.
It's all love from us, man. I don't put too much stock into what people say when it comes to that.
As it should be. I've always been of the belief that you know, good people are gonna be good people, and it don't matter what color they are. If we click, we vibe. Something's gonna work out. There's no reason to just specifically put yourself in a box when there's so much opportunity. And when
Yeah,
you
no
grow,
doubt.
like especially the way you guys have now, you can bring up people that maybe were in that box that now you can expose them to new audiences.
Sure, for sure. Yeah. That's all we've ever done is create opportunities, open doors that may not have necessarily been, available to certain people at a certain time. Because even the artist that I was mentioning, the African American artist, he's told me time and time again, like, yo, I'm only hot because you put me on to the Mexicans, like because the Mexicans were loving him and he performed at our events and they would show him love. I just did a podcast with my girl, Backstreets, I don't know if you're familiar with her, but she's out of here in Houston, Backstreets with Cole. That's my second time being on her platform. I've taken artists to her and whatnot. And she was in Cali just recently. She told me how divided it was out there. And she's like, man, I'm glad that you rock with me, And I'm like, yeah, well, Houston is different. Houston, for the most part, we're black and Mexican. We're cool. We're
We work
locked in.
together.
But
Yeah.
yeah, work together for sure.
For sure, that's dope. That was always my like biggest thought about your brand is like I wonder if he gets typecasted or kind of put in a box because of the brand. I find that really dope that you're always looking to embrace Houston as well. Not just Hispanics, but embrace the music game, embrace like just people in general trying to do something with their lives.
Well, I want to say like when we go back a little bit to the embrace the culture part, the Houston culture is a part of our culture. We help, you know, with that.
Hmm.
We supported that whole DJ Screw H Town sound. Like we love that. Like people still love that to this day. No matter how much people try to change it, that's still a part of our culture here in Houston. So the black and brown dynamic is a part of that. Like we get along and but at the end of the day, when you don't worry about that kind of thing and you're just a solid individual, none of that's gonna matter. Like what people say. It's gonna the people that have the negative things to say are always in the minority. It's always just the one or two that are the loudest. They're usually the loudest, but they're not really the majority. Because for the most part, as you could tell, people rock with us regardless. So you come to our, I mean, we OJ Ron C was at Embrace the Culture last year. Shout out to him. I didn't
Yeah.
even see him. I didn't know he was over there until I think someone tagged him in something. I was like, yo, I didn't know. I reached out like, yo, I didn't know you was there, man. It would have been cool to. Last year we did Summer Jam and B King, RP B King, he came out.
Wow.
Real recognized real, bro. Love is love. You know what I'm saying? It's not. There's no hate on this side. We love everybody. You love us, we love you right back.
Yeah, man. Hell yeah. Well, I love that. That's well said. Well put down. No, that's really dope. And like I said, I appreciate as a spectator, I really appreciate what you're doing for the culture, for the movement. You definitely represent not just Houston, but Hispanics as a whole very well. And I appreciate that you do that because with everything going on in this country, it's nice to have great representation and people like you, trying to bring a positive note to the world.
Thank you, thank you. And people say that, like people look at the name and say, them that. I'm like, is us trying to take something that was a negative and make it into a positive thing. Like them damn Mexicans are doing their thing. Them damn Mexicans are on the come up. They're doing this, they're doing that. We're putting on. We do the toy drive. We give back. We try to do as much good as we can because it's so like you said, it's just so much bad in the world. It's like why add to that? And again, being an actual legitimate company, you want to be a company that's profitable. And if you want people to sponsor you, big companies, you have to be professionally ran. You have to run it and be professional and be one of those that do things to try to do things the right way and be as professional as possible.
Yeah, well said, well said. So let's take a really quick break. I want to do a quick ad read and shout out our good friends at Honeysuckle in the Mood Room. And then we'll move into our next segment, which is Spill the D. It's a confessional where we have our listeners submit questions or confessions and we answer them and react the best we can. All right.
All
So
right.
before we get into that, let me tell y'all about our good friends at Honeysuckle and the Mood Room. This summer, we're cooling off with something crisp. It's clean and just the right amount of oof. Shout out to Honeysuckle brand for their newest Nectar Seltzer flavor, Cucumber Limeade. It's literally summer in a can. It's low in calories, low in sugar, and smooth enough to sip all night. Great for those nights when you don't want to go hard but still want to feel a little something something. And you don't gotta wait on shipping. Go check out the Mood Room, pull up, get you a can of that Nectar Seltzer, hang out with Carlos, go check out all their events. They have great events literally every month. They got live podcasts with them damn Mexicans. They got a comedy night on Thursdays. They do all sorts of different things. Every first Saturday, they have a salsa vinyl night, which is dope as fuck. If you haven't gone to it, you should definitely go check it out. Go check out the Mood Room. Go order your cans online. You can use our link in the show notes to get you some of that good. All right, David. So it's time for Spill the D. Like I said, this is one of our fan favorite segments where we have our fans send us questions, confessions, pretty much anything they can think of that they want us to react or answer. They send it to us using the hashtag Spill the D on Twitter. They can send it to us anonymously on Instagram, or they can email it to us at the Weekly D Pod. Again, this is a fan favorite segment, so let's get right into it. We got one anonymous listener question to start off with. You ready, David? All right. They asked, do you ever feel like brown creators are expected to only talk about the culture or struggle?
Yes.
Yes.
If this was before all the like the ICE raid and everything that's going on, I would say no, because for the most part, everybody I knew that was a podcaster, that was a brown, Hispanic, Latino, Mexican podcaster, they pretty much talked about what they wanted to talk about. As where for us, I was trying to go the opposite direction. We wanted to educate, edify, entertain our people, and highlight brown culture and really talk about the culture. And we're still that. That's why we created the business owner series, and that's where you introduced us to Carlos and whatnot. And then when I've met countless Hispanic, Mexican business owners out there, and it's been lovely connecting with everybody. But as far as your actual the original question, I feel like now I think they want us to speak out about that, about the culture and things
Hmm.
like that. So yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree. Just like you said before, all this ice stuff, like no one really expected it. Like then on this podcast, we like to get drunk and talk shit some days. Some days we like to interview interesting people from Houston, right? And put on for the platform. But yeah,
Yeah.
no, for sure. Well answered. All right. So this is the second question. This is also by an anonymous asker from Instagram. They asked, I love the slogan embrace the culture, but real talk. What does that actually look like in real day to day life? Like, how do you embrace the culture without turning it into a trend or vibe check for clout? Ooh, that's a good one.
That's a really good question. And it's like I stated earlier, when we say embrace the culture, we're saying embrace your culture, is what I mean. Because you have a lot of people that pretend that they're about the culture, they're culture vultures in a certain, and you can be of that culture and still be a culture vulture because you want to try to gain something. A lot of artists wearing the flags, the sombreros, and doing the whole shtick, calling out nobody or nothing like that. If you're really about that life, then if that's really you, then that's you. But I think people could tell who's really, if they really live in that, or it's just an act. Like, are you like that on and off camera or not? We are. Everything that I'm speaking, I'd be saying this whether we were on camera or not. We definitely embrace our culture, and it's just and it's exactly that. It's an everyday fight. It's an everyday struggle to embrace that culture because you see what's going on these days, and you got to move differently, man. You gotta. It's different in this day and age, man, because it's not something that's easily. Again, like I said earlier, the story. I'm wearing the colors. I get the looks now. Now
Yeah.
there's that uncomfortability, that uncomfortableness that people, like I said, it depends on like the authenticity of the person. Like, because I can tell who's who. I can tell who's just putting on a show because they want the support of the
Hmm.
brown culture, of the Hispanics, of the Mexican or the Latinos or whatever. But off camera, they're not really doing. What are you really doing outside of that?
Yeah, yeah. No, I agree with that. I'm one of those people that I believe in being genuine, and the more genuine you
Yeah,
are, the more you're gonna attract people that are just
correct.
like minded. You're gonna have some haters because naturally there's always gonna be haters, but
Hmm.
genuineness goes a long way. So I love the way you put that together. All right.
Yeah, people could tell when you authentic or not
For sure. It's one of the easiest things to tell. Like you can put on the front, but if you're not you, people will see through it right away.
right away.
All right. So we got a confession as well. These tend to get a
Okay.
little wild, just so you
Yeah.
know. But let's get right into it. This one was also sent anonymously. Man, people were just hitting up the anonymous link this week. Let's get right into this one. It says, "So here's my confession, DFam. It was Friday night. I just got my OT check after grinding 12-hour shifts all week at the plant. My coworkers were like, let's hit up Show Palace and just chill tonight. Next thing I know, I'm 3 tequila shots deep talking to a light skinned baddie named Marie. She said she was from the north side, had a butterfly tattoo, and smelled like vanilla and bad decisions. I swore we had a connection though. Long story short, I black out. I wake up the next day in my cousin's front yard in Pasadena. I'm covered in glitter, smelling like Victoria's Secret and guilt. My bank account is crying. I check the time, and I realize I only have 30 minutes to get to work. So I haul ass. I pull up, looking like I just got jumped by a bottle of body spray, still wearing last night's jeans, glitter all over my face, and all my coworkers that were there last night at Show Palace just stared at me in silence. Come to find out, my buddy Julio called in sick. I should have too. Has anybody else ever done the walk of shame in front of some homies you were partying with the night before? Man,
That was a lot right there, man. But yes, I want to say the walk of shame. It's
for
happened.
sure. I've done that for sure. At least once or twice, especially when I was a mechanic, man. Long weeks, you just want to party on Friday
Yeah.
night.
Yeah, and you're not thinking about the after part. You're just thinking about the moment and hey, whatever happens happens, So
Yeah, I used to like to party a little too much. I used to always have an extra uniform for work in my car. uh,
that's
I can definitely
crazy.
admit
Yeah.
I can definitely admit I've left the strip club at 5 in the morning just to show up to work at 6, still full of
Yeah.
glitter.
Yeah.
All right, so we're kind of towards the end of the show, but before we get to the last segment where we do this or that, where we ask you rapid fire questions, I just wanted to take a quick little break to talk about the TDM Digital Industry Night. It's happening this Saturday, June 21st at 9 p.m. at the Mexican House Sports Bar located on 2103 2113 Old Sorters Road in Houston, Texas. Man, I'm really excited about this event. It's going to be a huge event. I'm sure of it. You've invited all sorts of podcasters, creatives, DJs, artists, photographers. What can you tell us about what to expect that night?
I want to definitely say expect to be entertained and to have a good time. So we call it an industry night because there's people, again, like you said, there's people all from the industry. There's people like yourself, people that podcast, Latinx will be in the building, Hustletown Inc., Media. I was just told by GT Digital, Goto's Digital, Goto's digital company that they're gonna come out. Uh, so we have artists that are gonna come perform, artists that do all kinds of music, different styles of music, artists from San Antonio, from here in Houston. DJ Obedient will be live in the mix. He's our TDM DJ. And like I said, just to have a good time, we have special guest Powder, will be in the house, Chop the Father. We have DFD Baby Lee. Yeah, and then you never know who's gonna show up, man. That's always like I mentioned earlier, the people that have come to our shows, none of that was expected. Like no one knew that was gonna
Mm-hmm.
happen until they actually showed up, and it was like, oh, that's dope. So who knows who else is gonna pop up? But nonetheless, we're gonna have a good time. You're gonna be entertained. It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be definitely some fun.
Yeah, for sure, man. I'm super excited about it. I saw the list of the people you have announced. They're all super dope people. Get to see some of our friends that are podcasters as well. So that's gonna be super dope. Super excited. It's gonna be a great time for Houston. It's gonna be a great party. Be there, have a great time, party with them damn Mexicans, and let's just have a great time, right?
Yeah, and that's just it. Just have a great time and network. It's a networking event. You know how we can conduct business together, or you see artists that perform that you may want to work with, and maybe you like the DJ and you want to book him for an event, or you know, you guys that do podcasts, you might see someone like, hey, let's link up and, do a podcast together. It's just connecting dots, connecting the dots and working together and helping us to grow each of our platforms just a little bit, little by little.
Yeah, man. I'm super excited for it. I can't wait for it. Remember, guys, June 21st, 9 p.m. at the Mexican House Sports Bar. Make sure you're there. Don't miss out. It's going to be a great time and a great place to network.
Yeah, definitely. And we're gonna have food. Mejia's Catering and Services is gonna be there selling some food. So come out and support, so you have some drinks. When you leave, you can get you something to eat. It's gonna be, like I said, it's gonna be a great time.
Dope, dope, dope. Super excited about it. Let's get into the last part, our last segment of the show. It's called This or That, where we ask our guests rapid fire questions to get to know you better. The whole point of the game is answer as fast as you can, as best as you can. All right.
Okay. All right, let's
All
go.
right. All right. So, first question, tacos or tortas?
Tacos.
What kind? You got a favorite?
Pastor. Pastor.
Ooh, you know where it's at. You know where it's at.
Yeah,
Hell
and
yeah.
it's gotta have the pineapple. They gotta do it right. I gotta have the pineapple in there.
For sure, for sure. A little piece of grilled pineapple, some onions. Yeah, that's fire.
Mm-hmm.
All right, next one. Jaritos or Topo Chico?
Aritos.
Okay. Hot or cold?
Hot.
All right. Favorite beer?
Modelo.
Fire. Okay. Are you an early bird or a night owl?
Night owl. For sure.
Especially in this line of work, huh?
Yeah, you
All
gotta
right.
be, man.
Well, that's for sure. All right. Next one is favorite rapper of all time.
Tupac.
Great choice. Great choice. Okay. Elote in a cup or on a stick?
In a cup.
Okay. Next one, barbacoa or carne asada?
Man, I don't know. Carne asada, bro.
Carne
If I could
asada?
say both, I would say
Fucks with that.
both. But if I had to pick one, I'm gonna go with carne asada.
Yeah. All right. Dope. Okay. So this is the last question I got for you, David. It's an open-ended question. Okay. And it is, my name is David from TDM and I am
Grateful.
grateful. Damn, that's a good one. That's the first that I've heard on that one. I like that response. So this is the end of the show, David. I always like to give you the opportunity to shout out what your projects, upcoming projects, events, and your social medias. So I'm gonna go ahead and mute myself, and this is your time to shout all that out. Okay?
All right, sounds good. Thank you, man. First of all, shout out to you, man. Shout out to God for allowing me to do what I do. My wife, my kids, my family, the whole TDM fan that supports us. And just everybody who supports us, man, and rocks with us genuinely. We love and appreciate that, man. We got a lot of people that are always going to judge and hate, man. Hey, we love you too, So, just shout out to everybody out there, man. We love and appreciate everybody that rocks and supports the brand. And I mean that from the bottom of my heart. So,
Nope, you heard it first. That was David from Them Damn Mexicans. Remember, if you guys like what you heard, please give us a follow, a thumbs up, 5-star review, all that fun stuff. This podcast is on all platforms. You can follow us on all social medias at The Weekly D Pod. You can follow TDM at TDM Talk, TDM Digital, TDM Merchandising. Is there another one that I'm missing?
if you just go to Them Damn Mexicans, Instagram, everything is in the bio, like all the pages. I look, I lost count.
There's a lot of them. This has been the Weekly D Podcast. I'm your host, Danny G. That was David from Them Damn Mexicans. Remember, if you can't get it daily, get it weekly. Peace.
I've been sipping game, pouring pain in a styrofoam, swerving through the city with a vision and a microphone. Put my people on, never did it for the fame. We just talk real, every verse still flame. I've been sipping game, pouring pain in a styrofoam, swerving through the city with a vision and a microphone. Put my people on, never did it for the fame. We just talk real. Every verse still flame, still flame, still flame, still flame, still